All right, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum, shalom, family. Welcome to Conversations with Valerie, and it's good to have you back again, Valerie. How are you?
I'm well, and yourself? Good to be back.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. You want to go ahead and give everybody another introduction? Tell them who
Sure.
you are, what you're about.
All right. My name is Valerie Filson. I first am a reverend in the church. I am a author or an author. I'm a married, married but single. Um, I love kids. I also have my own microbiome business. We focus on helping people rebuild their leaky guts because all of our diseases start from the gut. If our gut is not clean, then we won't be able to lose weight. We won't be able to get off medications, and the list goes on and on.
All right. And I got in the mail today this lovely magazine right here. Start healthy.
Yeah.
So this is an excellent magazine that you did. You want to
Yes.
tell us about it? Where'd you get the idea and these good articles and stuff up in here? And I saw this hot mac and cheese with these hot Cheetos on it. And I know the children will love that.
Yep. So I actually got it from my cousin Rhonda. She introduced me to a guy, and he was telling me about what they could do for me. And he was like, "Well, would you like to be in the magazine? And you can talk about your business or whatever it is you want to talk about." I'm like, "Sure." So that's how that arrived. Yeah.
Mm. And
Mhm.
this is a real nice quality magazine. Nice pictures and everything. The colors are very vibrant. And
Yeah.
then the little business card that you have up in here, that's in the
Yes.
front of it, and there's one in the back as well.
Uh-huh.
I thought those was very, very nice. And then it does have food recipes in here, and talks about your health and things that need to be done. So this
Yeah.
is a really a well written
Uh-huh.
magazine packed
Yes.
with whole lot of good information, and I was very surprised and glad to receive it. Um, Now, also, you're author of several books.
Yes.
Um, what you want to give us a rundown on the books that you have written?
Sure. So I'm actually a co-author of three books. For His Glory, Shackled or Unshackled, and the other one is To God Be the Glory. And so those I was actually co-authoring in there, just telling my story. And then I decided to do one about marriage, as I've been married almost 40 years now. So
Mm.
and it's about helping people to go through situations because life
Mhm.
isn't perfect. Relationships, you have to learn one another, uh, and you want to be your best self. And so I was just thinking about us as a person or as a people, that we need to pamper ourselves.
Mhm.
So that starts with being happy. So it's really, really interested. Yeah.
Mm. Excellent.
Interesting. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So your two books, Well, first, and I know you're a minister, but what is the significance that God has in your life that allows you to maintain 40 years? Because when you stop and think about it, a lot of marriages don't last a year.
Mhm.
But to be able to last 40 years, some people don't live 40 years.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of trial, tribulation, up and down, ins and out. What gives you the strength, or what gave you the strength for you to be able to make it that far? And what does the place that your relationship with God helps you to sustain?
So, what helps us to sustain or have sustained this far is because we put God first. And then the key to any relationship is communication. You can't be in a relationship without open communication because it's going to be mass confusion. So it's very, very important to have discussions and to talk about anything that's negative or even anything that's positive. That's just necessary. That's the
Mhm.
only way that I find, besides God, that's the only way that I find that marriages tend to last. And if you can't communicate effectively, something wrong. Yeah.
Mm, mm. There's a saying that it takes just as much, if not more, energy to listen rather than speak. In relationships, especially between husband and wife, do you think that sometimes there's a problem with the ability to listen to what the other person is actually saying versus pre-thinking what they're saying and then readying your response?
Yes, there's an issue. It can be an issue because if you think you're right, you want to intercede into what the other person is saying to get your view, to give your viewpoint. However, sometimes it just pays to just be quiet, but it took many years for me to just stop, let him say whatever he has to say, and then go forward. But if I'm not allowed that opportunity to rebut what he's saying, then I just leave the room, because it's
Mm,
no point in going back and forth. And especially if you have children, you have to be considerate of the children in the room. So
mhm,
it's just no point in arguing all the time, and I'm not
mhm,
saying that we didn't have no arguments, because we had some knockdown arguments.
mhm,
But for the most part, as we got older, or as I got older and started, really paying attention, I decided that I'm not going to argue anymore. So I don't argue anymore. He can
mm,
say what he want to say. Even if I don't agree, I'll just come back later and say, once I'm cooled off, baby,
mhm,
this is what I think. And if he's
mhm,
yelling or acting crazy, then I just drop it and just wait till a good opportunity. And sometimes the opportunity never comes.
mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
My wife showed me a video today
Hmm.
where these two black men and women,
Hmm.
a black man and black woman, were getting married,
Hmm.
and the pastor said, "Do you, obey?" When he got to the obey part, she stopped. She was like, "I ain't going along with that part now." Um, and this word obey, is this word such a heavy word that a lot of women don't want to submit and have to obey what their husbands say? What's the catch-all with this that provides women with this such a problem?
So I would say, when I got married, I just looked at my husband, gritted on him, because I'm like, I'm not obeying. But in reality, if a man is trying to do the right thing by you, if a man is trying to work together with you, then sometimes you might can let him, lead, or do what he's doing. And if he tell you to do something, then you'll just go ahead and do it. But it just depends. I'm not going to say that I'm perfect and then I'm going to just obey anything he says, because that's not happening. So I mean, just being me, I pick and choose what I'm going to obey and do. I treat him with respect. I love him. I treat him with respect. I make sure he got dinner on the table. Most days when he comes home from work, his clothes is clean, house is neat. So um, anything beyond that, is go
Mhm.
day by day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Why do you think, or because I'm about what I'm assuming here. I don't know the actual facts, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
assuming that the marriage vows we got from the Bible, that is supposed to be the word of God. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
this to be actual facts. I'm just
Right.
assuming.
Uh-huh.
So if we take that, why would God tell the woman to obey the man?
Because in actuality, in the Bible, it tells us that uh men are the head. And
Hmm.
so if somebody is the head, then you should be able to listen to him. But I take it as if the man is saved, or woman, well,
Hmm.
mainly the man, because the man is supposed to be the head of the household. So as long as he's saved and not, trying to do crazy stuff, because
Hmm.
that's when it becomes a issue. If you're in a
Hmm.
relationship and both of y'all going to church together, or going to the Muslim place, or going to whatever kind of church you go to, or place of worship
Hmm.
that you go to, you can go together. But um, it just depends on the situation. But biblically, we are supposed to listen to our husbands, obey. But I can't really say where that is at this off
Hmm.
the top of my head. Uh, but if a man is not living for God,
Hmm.
he can pretty much not tell me, to follow
Hmm.
him,
Okay.
because of my relationship with God. So I
Hmm.
believe that I love my husband as I love God, but I put God first. But I'm not
Hmm.
going to let him lead me to a wrong place, or down spiral. I want
Hmm.
him to lead me upright, to a place that's good and not
Hmm.
bad, because it's evil and bad. It's evil and good. But most of the time, if a man is not saved, he just can't say but so much.
Hmm.
Example, prime example. My husband, his families, they have parties and stuff. Well, I'm sitting there like a lump on a log. I have really no conversation, but if somebody talk to me, then I'll talk. But the
Hmm.
thing is all this cussing, all this loud music, and I'm not into that.
Right.
So at some point, I had to be like, look, I know that you want me to go to your friend, but I'm not going. I can't,
Hmm.
because it's depressing to me to sit
Mm.
there and listen to all that cussing. No, I don't want to do that no more.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. And so, but by taking what you said, then there has to be some type of qualification to get that level of obedience.
Mm-hmm.
So the man has to be a certain qualified.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about that they have to have a relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
What else would be in that qualification in order to get the woman to obey? What else is a qualification standard that the man should have?
I think he should be nice to her, treat her nice, give her candy every so often, give her some flowers, tell her how he feel. I love you, babe. Maybe cook dinner here and there, maybe even wash some clothes, or do something around the house.
Mhm.
Because all couples are not safe. Both parties are saved. That's not always the case.
Mhm.
So the man still has to prove, in a sense, and that may not be the accurate word to use, but in my opinion, I
Hmm.
think that he just needs to show the woman that he cares, that he loves her, that he's not out there sleeping with Lolly Dolly and everybody, and you know, then we can go forward. Then
Hmm.
I may not have a problem doing something, but I still, I don't cross every I and dot every T. So I still don't. I'm not going to just follow him if he's saying go left, and I know I'm supposed to go right. I'm going to go
Hmm.
right. I'm not going to, but you have to get to that point, because all
Hmm.
women are not to that point. When the Bible teaches us to be submissive to our husbands, then women tend to just shut up, don't, won't say
Hmm.
nothing, but they're taking the scripture out of context, because we have a right to talk just as well as a man does, but in certain things. So another example, when my husband has company to the house, I
Hmm.
tend to I speak to them if I'm downstairs, or I might even yell down, but I don't go down in their faces. What I'm gonna be in a bunch of men's faces for? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I mean, I may go down and then come back up, or just yell down, and so I mean, you have to have space between the two. That makes a difference too.
Hmm.
So but at the end of the day, the man has to prove, or will have to prove to me that he is worth following, because you're not going to lead me over a rocky
Hmm.
mountain, no, and then get over that rocky mountain, you find something else better that you think is better on the other side, and then
Hmm.
you lead me over on the mountain. No, it don't work that way. So you got to
Right.
be careful when you absolutely or actually following somebody, even if it's your husband's, because sometimes we don't know people until we live with them.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Let me ask you this. When I know there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about being unequally yoked.
Uh-huh.
When that refers to a husband and wife,
Hmm.
how does that work? Because wouldn't it be that both of them can be in the church or can be in the mosque, but it is unequally yoked, dealing with one having more knowledge than the other? I mean, what is that? Because you coming as two individuals,
Hmm.
so isn't there going to be some unequalness there already? So how does that work?
Yes. So I don't see it as one being smarter than the other, or like I went to college, my husband didn't. I don't look at it as being unequally yoked until you in a position where your husband is going to the club partying and you sitting at home looking crazy, or you going to the club and and he doesn't want to go, or you going just to visit family, and then he doesn't
Mhm.
want to go. And so to me, if I got to go everywhere by myself, what do I need you for?
Mm. And,
I
that,
need, yeah.
and I'm glad you said that, because that leads me into my very next question that I'm going to ask.
Uh-huh.
When it comes to family and visiting, is that something? Is that something that is a mandatory thing, or is it something that, well, I ain't got to go with you today. I may go with you tomorrow, or I may go down there if your family live in Timbuktu, and you always going by yourself, and the husband is not going with you. Is that a real problem, or is that just I don't feel like doing it?
It's a real problem. Number one, because I'm building a team here. Number
Mm,
two, I'm going nowhere that you can't go. So why sometimes you can't go to the store with me? Go somewhere,
mhm,
and that's just in my particular relationship. I find that everywhere I go, I'm single, I'm by myself, or I'm a third wheel, and it gets next to me. I think that we should be on one accord, and at least, I mean, not every time I go somewhere, but at least every so often, come
mhm,
on and go somewhere together,
mhm.
or when you going out, let me ride with you sometime.
Right.
We shouldn't just be in separate cars going separate places all the time. there's got to be some coming together that's going to actually make the marriage stronger. When you
Okay.
spending time, how you going to have a strong marriage when you both divided, going different ways, different ways in the
Mm-hmm.
relationship, doing different things in the relationship. We got to
Mm-hmm.
bond as one.
And this is it difficult when you have one that most times you have churches filled with women,
Mhm.
and the husband may come, he may not come. But what does that say to the woman when you go to church and your husband is not interested? Is that a pull on the marriage? I mean, because even so my wife goes to church, I go with her to church.
Mhm.
Um, but is it a drain if he doesn't go to church? Is it a drain from the marriage, from the woman, that her husband is not there with her, by her side?
So with that, I really don't care if he whether he goes to church or not. I don't care if he go
Mhm.
with me. But on certain occasions, like when I got ordained, I expected him to be in the room, and he would not come. So that hurt.
Mm,
When
mm,
special things concerning me are going on
mhm,
in the church, I expect him to be there, but he won't come. So I'm like, well, why won't you come? Is it because you don't like me or something? I take it to a
mhm.
different level. But
Right.
I mean, it could be many reasons. But
Mhm,
yeah, it just I don't know.
mm. Wow. And so what advice would you give a man who just say, his wife is saying, come on, come to church. I'm gonna watch football today, catch me after football season. What would you tell him to motivate him to get up and sacrifice for his wife to go to church?
He need to come to church because there's other men in the church, even though it's more women than men in most churches, not in all churches, but in most churches. He
Mhm,
need to come because men have their eyes on people's women. And so,
mm,
or another man's wife or girlfriend, whatever the issue is or situation. And so, I just feel that that's how relationships break up, because you sending your wife to church, you sending her wherever, everywhere by herself. There's always going to be somebody there that's going to make her feel good. There's going to or give her a good compliment. Okay, and
mm,
that's what it starts from. You look nice today, Susie Q. It's gonna start from
mhm,
there to the next week. Oh, you sure look good today, baby cakes. And it
mm,
just gets escalates more and more and more. And so
mhm,
if your husband is there, there's a chance that it may not go that way. People
mhm,
will stay respectful, and even, I mean, because people know when you got or some people know when you got a husband, but they don't care. It doesn't matter that you're married. It doesn't matter that you're wearing wedding bands. It's
mhm,
just people in their nature, or men, not all men, but some men, they just decide, well, hey, her husband ain't coming to church today, so I'm gonna just try to ease in because something must be wrong why he ain't coming to church, with her.
mm,
So I
mm,
mean, it's so much to consider when you sending your wife to church or anywhere by themselves all the time.
mhm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's deep. That's really deep. Because I don't think that most men think like that,
Mm-hmm.
especially going to church. Oh, she going to church, she'll be all right. You don't think of it as a place where somebody may be hitting on your wife or eyeing your wife. You think of a church as a safe place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what do you think is the problem, even when it comes down to the lack of men in church? What is there a lack of drawing power from whoever the preacher is to attract the men into the church, or do you think it's something that's just going around that making the majority of men just not interested?
So from a child on up, it just appeared that men just don't go.
Mm,
It's like is that's their right to do what they want to do. I believe that more men might come, because I've heard folks say, or men say, that all they want is money. All they doing is begging for money. I ain't got no money to give them, or if I got it, I'm not giving all my money to the church. A lot of men say that. You hear more men saying that than women. I ain't saying that women don't say that, but you hear more men. So, and two, if it's a woman preacher in the church, a man is not going to want to sit there and listen to a woman telling him about nothing, because some men live on the man is the head, he's the one that's supposed to tell the wife. So if you in church and there's a woman preacher up there, you definitely ain't gonna sit. Some men definitely are not going to sit there and listen to no woman tell them nothing. And then you have, it's just all sorts of issues. You have women hitting on men in the church, so even though they know that you married to Susie, or they still would hit on a man. And so some men don't go so they can keep peace at home.
Wow.
Yeah, it's unbelievable what you'll find in the church, and that's supposed to be our safe haven. We're supposed to
Exactly.
be able to go there and not have to worry about anything, nothing happening. Everything supposed to be good. We're supposed to be giving God praise, worship, singing the praises and stuff. But it's so many motives of reasons why people go to church, men and women, but I just from a childhood, it's always been more women in the church than men. And so I can't give you a solid answer as to why that is, but I can only give you like some things that I've seen happen, like women cook greens and stuff and put stuff in it trying to get the pastor, you know. We laughing, but that happens. That happens. That really happens. And that's why I don't eat to this day. I don't eat at a lot of places, eat to include restaurants, because you don't know who's trying to get who. So it's a lot. It really it's funny, but it's not. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. That is something. That is something. If you were an advisor to a pastor who's just starting out, and wants to get his church up and organized and open, how would you counsel him as far as going out and starting and getting the people? What would be your counseling for him to do?
First is self-evaluation. Get yourself right and prepared. Make sure that you're doing what's right in God's sight, because you can't teach nobody else if you're doing wrong. So, or what we consider, because sometimes people are just different. So people do things differently. And so people, so for instance, drinking, because that's a hot topic everywhere. People in the church drinking, right? So I remember about 20 something years ago, I was at somebody's house and I had me a cup of I believe it was Hennessy and Coke. And so I'm just drinking, getting along, having a good time. And somebody comes up to me, I thought you was preaching the gospel. I was like, man, you right. So I had to repent, and I don't do that no more.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm not saying that it's necessarily wrong to drink. It depends. You don't get drunk. I know that. But and people in certain places, I believe that pastors, apostles, bishops, ministers, people in position that have people following them should watch what they do. So they shouldn't be drinking and cussing and acting crazy, So it's, I don't know, it's just a situation. Yes.
Do you think that there should be an imposed discipline like in the Nation of Islam, if you lie, that you can get up to 90 days out of the mosque. If you steal, you can get up to a year out of the mosque. If you commit fornication, you can get up to a year to 5 years, 1 to 5 out of the mosque. So there's is what is called the restrictive law, that you cannot do these things, and then if you're found out doing these things, then they do put you out of the mosque for that time period. Now you can always appeal if you think that your quote unquote conviction is wrong. You can appeal to the next person, or you can appeal to come back early. Do you think that type of discipline is needed in the church?
Well, I can tell you what, if they bring that type of discipline to an African American church, ain't nobody gonna be there. The whole church gonna shut down. Yeah. Nobody's gonna live with that. I mean, that's like the criminals in the street. And they're not gonna live. I don't, in my opinion, they not. So I don't really think that people I mean, maybe they should be punished, for certain things, but if you're going to punish them, the things that you name, if they decide to punish people for those type of things, we all gonna be in jail. The whole church. So things that's really bad. You can't rob nobody in the church. You can't steal from nobody in the church. I don't think punish him. I think kicking them out is appropriate, even though that's not your house. That's God's house, But at the end of the day, I don't know another way to get on somebody's nerve or punish them for what they're doing. Because you can't walk around stealing from the church. I know
Exactly.
I went to Florida to a women's conference. The lady was up shouting and dancing, praising God, while somebody was over there in her purse, stealing her stuff, stealing her. How trifling
Wow.
is that? And that taught me that I don't need to go in them type place, because everybody's not there for the same reason. Everybody have their own motives for why they do stuff. Yeah,
Exactly.
and that was unacceptable. But I'm telling you, if it happened there, that means it happened everywhere, anywhere. Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that because when you out now thinking on your answer about that there will be nobody in the church, or that the church people wouldn't go for it. So is it that because of course the mosque is filled with African American men and women, and they go and they accept that discipline and they live their lives by that. So what would be the difference with the church?
Because I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Because the church people, some of the ones I know, they don't care. Them the same ones out slinging and doing everything else, and then they come in the church, supposed to be trying to get help for themselves, or but they come in the church and they not worried about what they doing in the church, because you got people cursing in the church. I was just at a funeral a couple of weeks ago, and a man just literally stood up in the funeral at a church cursing. And I'm like, people don't have respect for God's house. So anything goes, anything goes. And so I just believe all the churches that I've been to, and I've been to a lot because I used to be a quartet singer. So then I have seen so many things in church that even deter people from church. So yeah, I just, we just do ourselves in. Yeah.
Now you when you were coming up, you grew up in church, right?
Well, not until I was a teenager. I used to go off and on to a Methodist church, but it wasn't every Sunday. But once I got around 12, 13 years old, that's when I started going to church on a regular basis.
Mm. And
Yeah.
so what is the difference between the Methodist and the Protestant and the Baptist? What is the difference between these things?
So some of the churches, they have the drums, the guitars. Well, I know the Church of God in Christ. They have the drums, the guitars, the organ, piano, saxophone. They have any kind of music. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, some of them even have the washboards. Other churches, they may have. I'm not sure if I've ever even been in the Protestant, but they have most. Like I know Baptists, they have pianists.
Mm-hmm.
Now some of the newer Baptists might have the drums and guitars and stuff of that nature, but um so many churches just have the piano, and that's,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and normally is an older pastor when you see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, some of the older ones still have all of the things, but so that's the difference in the way people dress. Church of God in Christ, um some nowadays you might see a short dress in there, but when I was coming up, everybody's dress was definitely below their knee, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But now, and you always had on stockings and your feet were closed in. But now nobody wears stock. Well, some people don't wear stockings and they wear their feet out, and they not covered up,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But what I learned in the Church of God in Christ, to cover up, cover yourself, respect God's house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
And so where when or what caused the standards to be dropped, that where one upon a time you was wearing the stockings as you were saying, and to now we're in this, you know, modern time, we don't wear those, they don't wear those no longer. So what
tra-
was it that made the standard drop?
tradition changed. People don't want tradition. People want to do things to try to bring people in the church. They willing to be dancing and hip hop singing and
Mm-hmm.
just to draw people in the church. But that's not necessarily going. This is going to draw the wrong people in the church. But
Mm-hmm.
when I came into the church, and when so many came, was because of the gospel music. I mean, you can dance and have a good time, you know, with the gospel music going on, the
Mm-hmm.
drums, and actually that's what drew me to the Church of God in Christ. I went. My aunt had invited me and my mom, my sister, and I to a anniversary program. So whilst we was in there, you know, I saw the drums, the guitar, the I think they had an organ at the time. No, the keyboard. That's what they have, keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
And they started playing. I'm like, what in the world? You know, and I just got so excited. But it wasn't, it was still gospel music, but it wasn't the hip hop and all that stuff. Because nowadays too, they bring in hip hop rap and different things trying to win
Mm-hmm.
souls. But if they would just live right, if people would just live right, then
Mm-hmm.
people will just follow you. You know, be
Mm-hmm.
nice to people, speak to people, don't look down on people, you know, just
Mm-hmm.
do like in the Church of God in Christ. Even if you don't if we didn't know the people, you still
Mm-hmm.
got a hug, you know, you still got a handshake, you know. But nowadays when you go into church is like you know, it's yeah. So yeah, you better not outdress nobody.
Mm, mm, mm. I
Yeah.
know. You know, we were talking one day, and I was talking to somebody from the church, and I was like, "Well, Bev, she's always meeting the new people, and you know, talking to them, how you doing, and you
Uh-huh.
know, greeting them and stuff like that."
Hmm.
And that is an interesting thing. Me, I'm not necessarily much like that, you know. So
Hmm.
she'll tell me, "Go shake his hand, go," you know, like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm more sitting back. I'm watching everything. You know,
Yes.
making sure
Yeah.
everything is it's supposed to be what it's supposed to be.
Hmm.
But have we lost that desire to get to know one another, to actually be able to be, brothers and sisters in Christ, or, brothers and sisters in the mission of God.
Yes, we have lost it. You still find a few here and there, but it's like people tend to like certain people. People
Mm,
tend to talk to certain people. If you go in there into somebody's church and you singing and dancing, and they can't dance for God,
mhm,
anybody can dance, you would think, but everybody, I guess, can't. They don't have that gift.
mhm,
So, they looking at you crazy. They don't want to be your friend because you look too good. They think you're going to steal a man, or, it's always something, especially with women, and I'm learning that I have to look out for me, fix myself up, and have confidence in myself, build my self-esteem, because
mhm,
I've run into that all the time. I went to an organizational event, a women's organization, and the lady had no idea who I was, but I went and
mm,
stood beside her. She looked me up and down, and then she rolled her eyes and turned her head. Never seen me before in life,
mm,
and that discourages people. So if you go into the
right.
church and people acting like that, you're not gonna win nobody. They not, if they stay, they not coming back. So
Mhm,
we have to, you know, let God's light shine through us and treat people right. That's where it all stems from.
mhm,
We got to know how to treat people. We need to know how to treat ourselves and then others.
mm,
You know,
mhm,
so they people always say, treat everybody else like you want to be treated. No, treat them how they want to be treated or how they should be treated. Because
exactly.
you might don't care.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, it's
Mhm.
yeah.
Definitely. I was reflecting the other day on a prayer that we say, and part of it says, "Oh Allah, I have been greatly unjust to myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against all my faults, for none can grant protection against my faults but Thee."
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about it, I've been gratefully unjust to myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, wow, if we've been greatly unjust to ourselves,
Selves. Yes.
imagine how we've been to other people.
Yes.
And it was like a mind-blowing thing that just goes off, that
Mm-hmm.
makes you reassess,
Mm-hmm.
how you see yourself and how you see others and how you treat yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to wrestle with that thing and to
Mm-hmm.
overcome the impediments of self. How important is that in our journey to be
Mm-hmm.
one with God? How would you say, how important is that?
It's very important because you got to go to him. Go to him, and you don't want to take a bunch of mess unless you just can't get rid of it. Now because he's there to help us out, but I think it's important to yourself, to fix yourself, because it makes your attitude different. You be on a more positive note. If you feeling good, your self-esteem is not low. It makes such a great difference if you are positive, if you have a smile on your face. And um me personally, when I see people, I speak to just
Mm,
about everybody. And the reason I don't speak to the ones I don't speak to is because I don't have direct contact, eye contact. But it makes a difference. So we want to be in a space, in the mindset that we know where our help come from. We know um how we supposed to do A, B, and C, where we trying to go in life. And we're not gonna get anywhere in life positive if we don't clean ourselves up. And a
mhm,
lot and a lot of times people don't see their faults. They see everybody else's fault. But we have to take time to get to look at our own faults. Even if that means sit back and meditate and think about what you did yesterday or what you did this morning. God, what can I do to make me a better person, to understand myself and want to be better to me so that I can be better to somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
If you are not clean, or if you have an attitude, then you're no earthly good to anybody.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the things that that keep people, regardless of your religious persuasion,
Mm-hmm.
in I would say trouble, or in a situation that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody does them wrong, and the natural thing is to do them back.
Mm-hmm.
But I would call the supernatural thing is to let it go and let God, right?
Yes. Yes.
um, how would you tell somebody, that's the best? How do you get that over to a person who, don't even understand that concept, because that concept seems strange and foreign?
Mm-hmm.
You grow up, somebody hit you, you hit them back, you
Right.
know. Now this person done you wrong, and you saying let it go and let God deal with it. How do you do that?
So the main thing is you have to live Christ. And so if somebody hit you, you're not going to hit them back, and some people will, but I'm just saying, somebody
Mm-hmm.
that's really got it going on, with God, got a real strong relationship with them, they're not going to hit the other person back. But I would just tell them, to not react to everything. Think about, you got to think before you act, because if you just act, you're going to end up in jail. If you just
Mm-hmm.
come out the mouth saying stuff that you shouldn't say, you're going to hurt somebody's feeling. And sometimes when we speak, but it hurts people and it brings them down. And we're not in the business of bringing people down. We're trying to bring people up.
Mm-hmm.
So it is vitally important that people know that they don't have to be a certain way, that God can change things. And whatever religion they are, because some people just believe that their religion is the only religion or the best religion. Well, we got people that's not, our religion. So
Mm-hmm.
let them go to their God. I never tell somebody to come to my God or to come with me. I tell people to seek God, seek
Mm-hmm.
whoever, whatever religion you are, seek the head of that. Seek,
Mm-hmm.
seek God, because there's only one God, but people believe, in what they
Mm-hmm.
believe in. And who's
Right.
to say, and who's to say they wrong? They ain't got to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
people that's religious,
Mm-hmm.
because everybody is different. We have different cultures. And so I would just suggest that, and giving people scriptures all day long is not the answer either, because people
Yeah.
don't want to hear it. Yeah, people don't want to hear it. People don't want, yeah, that's not the answer either.
Mm-hmm.
But you could go as far as saying, may I pray with you, or or
Mm-hmm.
if you had some kind of pamphlets or something, it's it's many ways to do that,
Right.
to convey a message to
Mm-hmm.
people without just throwing stuff at them.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
even if they in the church, you don't know how rooted and grounded they are.
Mm-hmm.
So giving people scriptures all the time definitely is just not the answer, because some people may never read the Bible. And so
Mm.
if you live in a certain way, then you can just see, you know what I'm saying? You can see
Mm-hmm.
for yourself how people react.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm. So, there's, I was talking to a person about a couple of years ago,
Hmm.
and I was asking him, well, why you don't go to church no more? And he was like, because, the pastor want to tell me something that, Moses did 4,000 years ago, or Jesus did 2,000 years ago. but hell, that ain't relevant for today. I need you to make it relevant for it today now. What does it mean if Jesus walked on water then? How's that going to pay my bills today? And so he's like, make it relevant or shut the hell up.
Right.
And that was very interesting because I've never heard nobody say that before.
Right.
As a minister, how do you do that? How do you make something 4,000 year old, something 2,000 year old? How do you make that into something relevant today?
Because you don't, you can talk about years and years ago, but you bring it to today's society. We all watch the news from time to time. We all have experiences. God let everybody go through a certain experience to come back and share with other people to help people. Mm-hmm. So the preachers should, or with me, put it that way. I may read an Old Testament scripture, but I'm going to talk about something that happened like this week, this year, within the last year or so. I'm not going to just talk about back then, because in actuality, like they talk about tithes. Well, back then it wasn't money. It was sheep and cow, whatever you had. Right. So now it's money. It's not the animals, it's money. So when the preacher is up talking, they just need to talk more, or more about what's going on right now, and to put the scripture from the old time into perspective. And sometimes it takes research. Everybody haven't been to a biblical college or anything, but with me, I have the tools because I've been there. And but it's easy to search stuff, even in the Bible. If you had to get different versions of the Bible, so just to bring it to current status.
Do you think those preachers, those ministers that fail to do that have a lack of love for God, or a lack of love for the people that he's trying to teach?
I wouldn't say that they have a lack of love. They just not letting God lead them, because more than likely God will lead you to what to say. And I mean, I've preached several times, and I always go to God for a word. I don't just take and read something and say, okay, I'm gonna preach about this. No, you got to meditate, take time out to hear from God. And God, even if you go to an old scripture, you can bring it relevant. That's why we all had different testimonies about different stuff. I mean, I had so many stories, that of things that I've been through. So at least one of them is going to compare or be applicable for this time and season. Yeah.
Well, when you hear the term "rise above emotions into the thinking of God," what does that mean to you?
Don't just sit there and have a pity party. Rise up, pray. If you're gonna pray, don't worry. If you're gonna worry, don't pray. I'm sorry. It just, to me, it just means get in touch with God, reach out to God. But that right there could be interpreted different ways. It just depends on the person. But for me,
no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, for me, it would be just to make sure that I'm in tune with God.
And in a marital relationship where you can have, something really, really small spark huge emotions. And I believe it's in the Bible, where, I don't know exactly, so you may have to correct me if I'm wrong, where it says, where there is anger, there is sin, or sin is at the door, because the person was angry. So when you're dealing with the emotion, and you get caught in that emotion, and then you act out of that emotion, and then wind up falling deeper and deeper into sin. What is the key that a person or both people in the relationship should be able to say, okay, we're getting too emotional, we need to start thinking, so let us calm down, let's take a time out? What would be the cues for something like that?
So number one, we should not be acting on emotions. Emotions get us in trouble all the time, especially females. Get us in
Mm,
trouble all the time because men aren't emotional creatures, but women are. You know, you
mm,
have some that are sensitive and very emotional, but um, like 99% of women are more emotional. You have some that's not, but the majority of them are emotional creatures. And
mhm,
when you find yourself acting out on emotions, you find trouble. First of all,
mm,
you're going to act out on emotion, and you could have misunderstood what was going on. You could have
mm,
misunderstood what the person said or what he
mhm,
was trying to say, or she, what they was trying to say.
mhm,
So acting on emotion is really, really, really dangerous. You have to know exactly what you're acting out.
mm,
And I say that because I act on emotions. I'm now learning to stop acting on emotions because I've been in
mhm.
some bad places acting on emotions. And, I don't want nobody else going through the stuff I went through because
Mhm,
I'm just acting out because I think I heard something, because I think they said something, because I think
mhm,
they went somewhere, and so it's so easy to act
mhm,
emotionally, um, and emotionally in a bad way, because
mm,
you can be emotional and it's good, you know.
mhm,
But too
mhm.
many of us act emotionally, and it makes us look stupid at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I
Mm-hmm.
want to go to a clip and share this clip and come back and get your thinking on it.
Okay.
Uh, so let's see. Every time an argument come up, you want to run. Some of you ain't been married 2 years, 3 years, you ready for divorce. What the hell is wrong with you?
I know that's right.
If it was easy, everybody would have made it.
Mm-hmm.
Marriage is difficult. And if you don't want to struggle, then leave a woman alone. And if you don't want to struggle, leave the man alone.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. Yeah. Okay. So there we have Minister Farrakhan talking about marriage and struggle, and that it is difficult. If it was easy, everybody would be married.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on what he was saying?
I I agree with him because marriage is a bunch of struggle, is a bunch of struggles in a marriage. First of all, you got to get to learn one another. Sometimes it may be the first time you actually live with someone, so
Mm,
you got to know his ways. He got to know your ways. um Things just come up. You may discipline a child one way and he may discipline a child another way. That's a
mm,
real issue. Then we have the
mm,
money issue. You spending too much money, but you got your account and he got his account, and you want your name on his account, but you don't want his name on your account. So is there's a lot of stuff to go with marriage. And so if
mhm,
you're not sincere, if you're not willing to get to learn a person, to get to
mhm,
communicate with the person, to get to really really see what you can offer the person. I hear women preachers all the time say that you don't just get a man because he buying you something. Don't just, because that's a gold digger or user. You get
mm,
somebody that you want to be your companion. You want somebody
mhm,
that you can look at in the morning when you wake up. You want somebody that have the same type goals as you have for the future. You don't want just
mhm,
any old body.
mhm.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Do you think the role of the female, um, Minister Farrakhan teaches that one of the extreme value of the woman, of the black woman, is to help make a man for God. Um, and doing that, because if the man has accepted his role, and understands that he's supposed to be a conqueror,
Mhm.
right? So you're going to go out there and you're going to build a new reality. You're going to build what you have in your head, take it from your head and make it reality out there in the earth. So therefore, you're born to challenge.
Mhm.
You're born to challenge and you're born to overcome. Now, most men may not understand that and take the road of, yeah, I go to work, I come home, chill out, da 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 da. So there's no real service, and the woman sometimes loses her place in there. But when you got a man that knows that he's supposed to conquer, that he's supposed to, subdue the earth, he's supposed to go out and take over.
Mhm.
Um, and then being with a man like that, from the woman's perspective, that she has to complement that, has to be able to calm his head, be able to build him back up. I watched this show on Netflix called um, babe, what's the name of that show we watched on Netflix, with the president and no, not that one, but with the white folks, and he started as the Speaker of the House. You remember? I can't remember the name of it,
Mhm.
uh, but her husband was the Speaker of the House and was working his way, to be the vice president and then president. And one day she came home and they were in the White House, and he was crying.
Mhm.
He was on the floor crying.
Yeah, it's not the old. I forget what it's called. I gotta look it up.
And she was and he was just on the floor crying. And
Mhm.
she laid him straight, got down, undid his pants, and did what he needed to do to build him back up,
Mhm.
to get him back up and say, no, we don't do this crying,
Mhm.
figure it out and go out there and kick some tail.
Mhm.
She took him being broken, put him back together, and
Mhm.
then send him back out to battle. And I watched that and I was like, wow, she
Mhm.
rebuilding her man so he can go out there and do what needs to be done. Is that art lost within the black woman, or is it something not taught, or how is that? Because we watched Insecure last night, and the main girl, I don't know her name, was with a guy for 5 years,
Mhm.
and he wasn't doing nothing, but she talked to him, and eventually, he started working for Best Buy. And then
Mhm.
he met the girl at the bank, and she was like, "Oh, you working?" Da, 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 da. And she was like, "But what about your own ideas?" And he was like, "Oh, I don't do that." And she was like, "But you still need to push forward, because even I'm at the bank today, but at night, I'm doing this and stuff for myself." And
Mhm.
so she pushed him. You got to do more on your own idea, and then that got him a better job and everything like that. So it was the woman that wasn't his girlfriend, but she put enough in him to go out there and push. And
Push.
eventually them two wound up getting together. But
Mhm.
that art of getting the black man back together so he can go back and do battle, is that a lost art among black women, or what's your thoughts on that?
I would say yeah, because so many black women are so immature, it's not even funny now. It's not like the women that came up back in the day. You had some, I'm not saying all women, I'm just saying
Mhm.
some. But when you marry somebody, you got to stand with them. And so if it takes for you to push them up any kind of way you can, then you need to do it.
Mhm.
That's that y'all are one,
Mhm.
so if you won, then why you gonna let one half of you fall apart? Why you gonna let one
Mhm.
half of you go down?
Mhm.
No, because it makes you look bad as his wife.
Mhm.
When you just sitting around and uh don't care, but when you
Mhm.
have a woman that's willing to push up for her man or stand up for her man and encourage her man, that's awesome. That's an
Mhm.
awesome deal. Yeah, that's something,
Mhm.
but you don't see that a lot now, and that's a
Exactly.
problem. And that's a problem.
Mhm.
That's the
Mhm.
problem. Yeah, I
Exactly.
know. I rub my husband's feet because his feet be hurting sometimes, and my
Mhm.
grandkids laugh, and I'm like, sometimes you got to do what you got to do to build your man up, and it goes both ways.
Mhm.
It goes
Exactly.
both ways. Yeah.
And so this thing, and why don't you see? Or I don't know if it is, but I'm assuming that these things are not taught when you have the women conferences. They're not taught in church, even how to be a wife or how to be a woman of God. I don't hear this. I
Mm-mm.
don't hear this. I know in the mosque you got the MGT class, you got the Vanguard, so they have classes for them to learn these things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not there in the church.
No.
Um, have they taken their eye off the role of the woman and the most important value of woman?
Yes, I would say yeah, for about 90%, um, because the role of a woman is needed way more than a man, is what a
Mhm.
lot of women say. And I'm not necessarily saying that, but I do believe that we are your helpmate.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I believe that we should be one. We should help each other. You don't hear about that in the church. The church
Mhm.
don't talk about nothing but getting money. Um, they pray for certain people, but it's not. It's more of a business now. Churches
Mm.
is just like a business. It's not like it
Mhm.
used to be back when I started in Church of God in Christ. It's not like that
Mhm.
anymore. Now everybody just
Mhm.
trying to find a way to get a dollar.
Mhm.
Find a ways to make sure they're on social media so that the world can see them. You know,
Mhm.
that's the important. It's not important to them to make sure that every member is doing okay. Make
Mhm.
sure that if I call you, you're gonna answer the phone. No, you got to go through chains in a lot of churches, and
Mm.
that's not cool.
No,
That's
that's not.
it's not
That's
cool.
not.
I'm paying my tithes to this church, so I
Mhm.
want to call my pastor. I don't need to call Joe
Mhm.
Blow and Susie May. I need to call my
Mhm.
pastor. I don't need to.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't want everybody. A person like me, I'm very private. I don't want
Mhm.
everybody in my business. So I'm gonna
Mhm.
tell who I want to know
Mhm.
what I want them to know.
Mhm.
And so that
Exactly.
doesn't mean that I want to go to a chain of pastors and preachers and things of that nature to get all them in my business for them to go
Mm.
tell the next person. No,
Mhm.
no.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
you don't see the good teachings and stuff in church anymore. And
Mhm.
actually we're coming up. My pastor coming up did teach a lot of stuff that made a difference. But
Mhm.
nowadays, it's not like that. You go to church,
Mm.
like I said, it's a business. It's a
Mhm.
business. Yeah, they're teaching you how to make money to give to the church.
Mhm.
They're teaching you to make sure you sing a happy birthday to certain people, wishing
Mhm.
people happy anniversary to certain people. They what you call it, they glorify certain people,
Mm.
or they, I won't say glorify, but they acknowledge certain people. If you're not
Mhm.
who they want you to be, or who they think you should be, or if they have an issue with you, you like nobody in the church. You just
Mm.
a nobody trying to tell
Mm.
everybody about somebody. Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. I heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He was teaching one day, and he said, such and such came to me and was like, brother so and so is sick. You
Mhm.
ought to send him some money. And the
Uh-huh.
Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, well, you know that he's sick, right? And he was like, yeah. He said, well, did you send him some money? And he was like, no. He said, well, look here.
Uh-huh.
You know he was sick. You sent him some money first. I'm
Uh-huh.
going to send him some money, but you send him some money first. You know,
Yeah.
letting them know, look, that's your brother, and you know your brother's dead and they sick. You send him something. When the
Mm-hmm.
message get to me, I'll send him something, but you take care of him first because you
First.
found him right there first. You
Right.
know, and so that type of family bond, that type of family love that has to be in the church and the mosque, in the houses of worship, that has to be cultivated in order to truly cultivate the people to be what they should be. Is that something that's too hard to get done?
No, I don't think is too hard. Is you got to stop being business minded and care about people's souls. If if
Mm,
if if the pastor or leaders or whoever care about people's souls, they're going to teach them the right way. They're going to teach
mm,
them the biblical way. But when you
mm,
just in it for the wrong reason,
mm.
hey, is nothing's going to change. Nobody's going to benefit but the ones in charge, and that's it.
And so I was reading a scripture about a couple of months back, and it shocked me because I didn't know it was in there. But
Mhm.
I was reading, and it said that God will send pastors to you,
Mhm.
and you will know it because they have a heart like unto God's heart.
Mhm.
And it shocked me. I was like, oh wow, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, what? How can a person know that this pastor has a heart like unto God's heart? How would they know that?
It's going to depend on how the pastor treat them. If the pastor has a heart unto God's heart, he going to
Mm-hmm,
treat them really nice. He's not going to just say, "Oh, I need some money," or because
mm-hmm,
again, like I said, it's not all churches. Let me clarify that it's not all churches. It's just some
mm-hmm,
that it's just all about the Benjamins. But we just need people or leaders. We just need
mm-hmm,
leaders to care. And if leaders care, then we can go out here and get some of these souls saved. And everybody is not going to change, but we can tell them so they can't say they didn't know, who
mm-hmm,
God is, the right
mm-hmm,
from the wrong,
mm-hmm,
So is if it's to be, it's up to us for people to learn the ropes or learn the right way that they should
mm-hmm.
be living.
Excellent, excellent. I want to go and share again,
Okay.
and we're going to come back and look at Nikki Giovanni,
Mm-hmm.
and brother James Baldwin in a conversation that they're having.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to come back and ask you some questions based on it.
Okay.
I think that the only thing that's changed in the last, since Martin Luther King, since 54, I think the only thing that's really changed is the black woman. And what she
No, I don't
said
think
is
she's changed. I think she's become more visible.
I think she's changed because there was a time, let's say my mother, my aunts and things like that, they would say, okay, if that's the way you establish your manhood, I'm going to go for it. And my generation says, hey, no good.
Okay.
You must establish
I'll
a
agree
new
with-
base.
I'll agree with that.
And we are, as a group,
I'll agree.
demanding that a new base be established.
Yeah, but be careful as a woman of what you demand of a man.
I demand that he be a man.
But you can't
because
say,
the provision part.
Yeah, but you can't say you demand it. You have to suggest it.
Well, that's your ego that says that. No, I demand it. Now you deal with that.
All right. Okay.
I
I'll even go with that.
demand that you be a man, and I don't think that that's asking too much. Because if I wanted a provision, say I would get a camper. You know what I mean? I would get a camper that provides things. You know what I mean? You get an army surplus kit that provides things. I need a man, and black men have always been offered to provisions. People are either going to eat or starve to death. The men of Biafra, the people were starving and they were still the men. Had to be that way through that horrendous kind of war, but it had to be that way because sometimes you are not able to feed your family. Sometimes you are not able to clothe your family. Do you then also deprive them of your manhood and of the input that a man has? Who teaches my son how to pee?
Yeah, but
You see?
yeah, but you're talking I agree with you. I see that very well. But it's one thing to be in a situation where you see that you have, where you see a future, however bloody, and to be in a situation where you see no future at all.
But you are. It is incumbent.
It's very, if I
I'm
know,
gonna be logical, it is incumbent
if
that
I
we
know
see a future.
if I know what I'm demanding of you, in some sense, makes sense. If I know the fact the kid is not eating today or tonight or tomorrow, in some way makes sense. Yeah, then I can be there. But if it doesn't make any sense, and if I don't see anything coming out of it at all,
Will he eat if you're not there?
if you're on welfare, you won't eat if I am there. That's the law. But I don't want to get bogged down into that. What I really mean is that yes, a man can do that if he sees a way, if he sees that it means something. My father couldn't see that, and he was quite right because he didn't. Well, there wasn't anything.
There's something, because all I know that works in the world is a relationship.
Yes, all right.
Okay, that's all that's going to work. It takes two people to have a relationship.
Yeah, but the relationship.
If you don't have a dream, fake it.
But the relationship, you can't fake a dream.
You got to fake it, because we don't have dreams these days. How the hell can you have a dream? For what?
Well, it isn't.
So everybody's jiving, but let's jive on that level.
If I love you, I can't lie to you.
Of course you can lie to me, and you will. If you love me and you're going off with Maddie someplace, you're lying to me. Because what the hell do I care about the truth? I care if you're there. But Billie Holiday say, hush now, don't explain.
All right, I accept that.
Of course you'll lie to me, because I don't even want to care. What does the truth matter? And why are you going to be truthful with me when you lie to everybody else? You lied when you smiled at that cracker down the job, right? Lie to me, smile. Treat me the same way you would treat him.
I can't treat you the way I
must.
treat him.
You must. Because I've caught the frowns and the anger. He's happy with you. Of course he doesn't know you're unhappy. You grin at him all day long. You come home and I catch hell because I love you. I get least of you. I get the very minimum. And I'm saying, fake it with me. Is that too much of the black woman to ask of the black man? For 10 years, so that we can get a child on his feet that says, yeah, father smiled at mother. He talked to me about school today. Who cares that you can read or can't read? Most Americans can't read. Most people can't read. They look at the pictures.
Baby, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying, and I don't disagree. But no, I'm going to be honest and think about it really. I'm not so sure that is a human possibility. If I have to smile all day, and the cat on the job, the foreman, you don't understand why I'm smiling.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I want to smile, I'm smiling because that baby needs new shoes. I can't give a performance all day on the job and come home and give a performance all night in the house.
Okay, so one of the performances will stop.
Yes. So you say, and okay, I might be willing to go with it, but who's going to pay the rent?
The rent will get paid.
Look, baby, I'm willing to play it your way, but you have to see my point of view.
I see your point of view. But the rent will have to get paid.
The price of the rent is my smile.
No. I don't want you prostituting yourself. I demand.
I don't want you prostituting yourself either. One of us has got to work.
You will work it out, because you are intelligent enough and you are sensitive enough. You are a man enough to work out a new system, because we started off with everybody's protest now, and we're back there again. As long as the assumptions are the same, nothing will change.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we must corner ourselves to make a new assumption.
Okay, I buy it.
In case it was sort of like left up in the air, or somebody, like I didn't get it across. I really think that my father, Jones Giovanni, is a groovy cat, and he's lived with my mother now for 35 years under holy wedlock, and I think that that's good for them. I think that sort of thing worked for them, and I think that that's the main thing, that they were able to love despite it all.
That's what we were talking about before.
Right, exactly.
And you, by the way, you do not have to tell me that you're your father. I knew that.
Yeah, I think he's a gas.
Yes,
I just don't want to marry him.
Wow.
Okay, so we just watched Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin in a very strong conversation.
Okay.
And what was your thoughts on the whole conversation? And then we'll take it bit by bit.
So I kind of thought she was crazy don't lie to me. Why? I don't want you lying to me. Tell me the truth. You know, you don't. I mean, you shouldn't be lying to nobody unless you're on your way to jail or something. But try to get out of. But I don't want nobody lying to me. I want you there with me, yeah. But to lie and to leave me by myself and stuff. No. She's something was wrong with her. She needs some counseling or something. If she think that all it's about is just, time, because he gotta go and do what he gotta do too. You can't be stuck. I learned it early on. You can't be stuck with a partner 24/7. You got to get some breathing air somewhere. So it's so important to trust the person, but you don't teach nobody. You build him up to let him go and do better or become a better person, but you don't teach him. Just lie. No, you don't do that.
Now, in this thing, I think she was talking in reference to he goes to work and he keeps on the smiling to the white man, and then don't complain to the white man or nothing. But when he come home, all of that energy that he should have gave to the white man of no, I don't like this. I don't know why you treat me. When he come home, then he dropped all of that on her, and so she's like, don't bring that to me. Lie to me. You lie to him. You smiling at him. He don't know you upset. But when you come home to me, you unload all that on me. So she's like, lie to me. Let me hey, everything was good. Blah, 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 blah.
No, she should just tell him, don't hear. Don't tell him to lie to him. No, I just don't want to hear what you got to say today. I'm tired of listening to your job stuff. Every day is your job this, your job that. What about us? What about somebody else for a change?
Interesting. Definitely. So what about when she says, I demand you to be a man? And James says, well, you can't demand, you can ask, but you can't demand. And she says, oh no, I can demand you to be a man. What is that? Can a woman demand you to be a man?
They could demand all day long what they want, but they ain't gonna get nothing. Yep. Yeah, they can demand, because you can't change people. That's number one. What a lot of women do, they get these men that's out in the street, these thugs, and they sleeping with Lottie Dottie and everybody. Then you want to get him because, I like him. He bought me some lamps. He bought me a car. He bought me this. But you can't change a person. If a person want to keep doing what they're doing, they're going to keep doing it. So you can't demand them. Well, you can demand them, but it ain't going, those just words. Yep. You don't have the actions to back up the words to make somebody, or to, when you demand, she can't just, or anybody can't just say, I demand you to do this or do that and then make it happen. No, it's still left up to the guy to decide if he wants to do it or not. And if he feels that he doesn't want to do A, B, or C, he's not going to do it. You can just keep on demanding. You're going to find yourself by yourself.
So do you think that women should require that if you're going to be with me, you're going to be a man? Is that something that a woman should say, this is what I want? Or, say, hell, what is it that if he ain't being a man, what is he being? Yeah. What is that then? If he's not going to be a man, what is he?
would you marry a boy? You know, come
Mm.
on now. So you learn a person. You don't. Well, most people will spend time learning a person a little bit, even though it changes. I found that once you get that piece of paper, that really don't mean a whole lot until it's time to separate. Then we taking all the money. It doesn't mean anything. So she can keep on, or anybody can just keep on doing or saying what they want to do. But if a person don't want to change, everything gonna stay the same. So it's just better to just you learn a person. If they not meeting your needs, if they not doing what you want them to do before you get married, why in the world would you marry them? If they not
Mm.
spending time with you, if they not rubbing your back and you require a back rub, if they not rubbing your feet and you require somebody to rub your feet every week, why would you marry them? Don't marry the
Mhm.
joker. Stay by yourself
Mhm.
or find somebody else that's going to meet your requirements. You can't demand a person to do that kind of stuff. They're going to scratch the fire out your back, the skin off you. That's what they're going to do.
I know that's right. I said in a lecture a few years ago, and the sister had wrote me because she didn't like it. I said, Black woman, it is better for you to be by yourself
Mm-hmm.
than for you to go out here and find this no good nigga, because that no good nigga is going to turn you into a no good woman. It is
Yes.
better to be by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that she had a problem with that because being by yourself is a problem all in itself. It's
Mm-hmm.
loneliness, is you want to be able to do this, but you're by yourself.
Yeah.
So at least if you had a no good nigga, you ain't by yourself.
Yes,
You
yes.
know.
And so many people they sit in the office, they sit there and they say, you got help, you married, you got help. They don't know what our financial situation is. Nigga will be taking this money to Joanne or somebody, and you stuck paying all the bills. So you don't know what's going on in somebody else's house. So you are not to
Mm,
speak on it. Don't tell me. You tell me
mhm,
what you doing while you by yourself.
mm, mm. That's right. That's right. Is it um because I would guess, I know being when I was a single man, it had its difficulties, um, but I don't know. Maybe the women were more open, um, and there was no pressure. There was no nothing really. You go, hey, how you doing? Chill out or whatever, and that's seen as normal. But on the side of a woman, that's not seen as appropriate.
No.
Um, and so you have this imbalance
Mm-hmm.
where it's seen as okay for a man but inappropriate for a woman.
Mm-hmm.
How do the woman gain her power in that type of imbalanced situation? How does she, maintain herself? What does she do? Because as humans, we're not created to be by ourselves. We're social beings. So how does she get that power? How does she get that system to maintain,
Mm-hmm.
who she's supposed to be?
So, some women are strong minded, and some women they just go, they approach the man, but it's not supposed to be that way. The man is supposed to find of a good thing, a good woman,
Mm,
So if they out searching for a man, then that's the issue. I don't have a problem with a woman coming up speaking to a man, and even a conversation strike up. But
mhm,
then a lot of nowadays is I want to go home with you. I want to go to the car. Let's go to the car and do A, B, and C. It's not people don't care. These women nowadays don't care. They're half
mm,
naked. Most of them is half naked. And got cellulite showing all the wrinkles and stuff naked. and thinking they looking good and they ain't. All this gut hanging over, it doesn't look good. But in their mind, they are out there trying to attract these men who's going to care nothing about them, who's not going to do anything for them. So why not just sit back? And like I said, it's no harm to speaking to a guy, even a conversation. But let the guy come on to you. You don't come on to him. And that's a problem. I mean, I've been with my husband and women come to him and I shuts it down. I don't give him no time. I shuts it down, baby. I'm his wife and you need to go somewhere else. Not his. That's my husband. Yeah. So
Exactly. There was a point in the conversation that he talked about men are for provisions. That's what James said. And she said, well, hell, if I need a provision, I can buy me a camper because it provides, and he's like, well, if a man is not able to provide, what does he need to be there for? And she was like, well, who's going to teach my son how to pee? And then he, of course, he said, well, according to if you get in welfare, I can't be there. There's the thought that, or the reality that men are supposed to provide, right? There's a list of things that men are supposed to be able to do. And if you take provision off the table, is he less of a man?
It depends on the situation, because some men just don't want to work because they're lazy. But if a man is not working and he can help around the house, if he can't pay bills or something, it's always ways to communicate and to work together. Again, is the communication gap has to be open. Is not wrong for him not to work as long as he can't work, because sometimes things happen. But if he can work, then he needs to work. And yeah, I'm one of those that believe that the man should provide, not that it happens for me, but I just I believe that men should provide for the woman, go wash their cars and stuff. It's a list of stuff, but it doesn't happen for me. So I don't get all angry and stuff, because I want this. This is like I'm being a spoiled brat. No, I get up and do it myself. If I can't get him to do it, I just do it myself. But that don't mean that he's not a good man. That don't, that, because sometimes the providing has to switch over. It just depends. You might have to put your money together to make it work. It just all kind of, every situation is different. Every situation is different, but you don't put nobody down because they're they low spot, because we all may get a low spot at some point if we just keep on living.
Exactly.
That's when we have to start really just building somebody else, because a man, well, not all men, but a lot of men feel some type of way if they've been working or they've been providing and something happens and now they're unable to provide. So we're not supposed to make them feel less of a man, or because to me that's saying, well, if you ain't got no money, I don't want you. That's a gold digger. That's somebody that's money hungry. And if a person is like that, they need to be by themselves, because they don't value life. They value things. And we have to value starting with our life. We have to value our life, and then we can value somebody else's life. It's not what you can do for me, it's what we can do together to make our relationship work.
Exactly. We're going to go to another clip and come back and discuss it.
A woman is given to a man to assist him in time of distress, to give him relief, to give assistance in time of want, difficulty, or distress, to act or an instance of helping, to aid, to back him up, to bolster, to boost, to hand up, to help, to give him a leg up, to reinforce him, to relieve him, to console him in time of grief or pain, to give him balm, to cheer him, to comfort him, to give him condolence, encouragement, to soothe him, to give him solace, and to maintain him. That is the purpose of a woman. A woman is given to a man.
Okay, so again, there was Minister Farrakhan talking about the purpose of a woman. And you know, first question with that, would you agree with what the minister just taught?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just say yes and no. Because I mean, we all have a purpose. We all have our purpose as to why we're here, and sometimes we just meet up with the wrong person, and so we can't perform our purpose until we get with the right person. So, you know, I do and I don't agree.
So is it hard to find the right person? You know, because that's what everybody is looking for. You know, some call it soulmate. You know, some say this is the person that I was born for. Is it hard to find that person?
So since I've been with my husband since I was 17, I don't know personally. I can only go by what I'm told. And I have been told that it is hard to find a good man. It's hard to find somebody that's compatible. It's hard to find somebody that's not just slinging drugs. It's hard to find somebody that wants something out of life. It's hard to find somebody that's on your level, and they don't even have to be on your level direct, but trying. Because a lot of guys, they don't try. They just so used to being with a woman and she getting the first of the month check, and they sitting there waiting on that check every month. That's the only time they go out the house, you know. And so he's sitting there using the benefits that's supposed to be for her children. That's probably not even his. Some of them may be, you know, but yeah, it's crazy.
And so when you're dealing with that, with the man who is with a woman and the children are not even his, is it his duty? Is it his responsibility to be father number two to those children?
Well, I believe that a woman is a package deal. If she has kids, then either you accept them or you don't. And if a man won't accept your kids, then he can't accept you.
Mm,
That's just my thought.
mm, wow. And you know, we see a lot of today, you know, on the news where the stepdad or the boyfriend beat the baby, killed the baby, and the mother didn't defend the baby, and so she gets locked up with the no good nigga. How does a mother, I guess, does she lose her love for her child and begin to love the no good nigga more than she loves her child to be able to go along with that kind of treatment?
I think she's so. This is what an example of living on emotions. She's so emotionally attached to the guy that she gonna do whatever he says do, or she's gonna whatever he doesn't like. If he don't like her holding a child, she's not gonna hold the child. If he doesn't want her feeding the child, you know, you have women that won't feed them. If they don't, the man don't want to look at the child, they lock the baby in the closet or leave him in the car or something. It's all because the women are attached to these no good niggas, like you said, and they have power over these women. Some women are scared, and you know, scared, you know, because a lot of times you try to get away from domestic violence. You try to get away from somebody that's dealing with you, and mental stress,
Mhm.
and you can't. And so when you can't get away because you have nowhere to go, the system don't have no room for you, the system won't help you, then you sit there and you deal with that abuse. But at some point, they need to be waking up and defending their child. But it's so
Mhm.
hard because the man has this hold on them. For whatever reason, some men have a hold on these women, and they they just give up everybody, not just the child. I mean, with me,
Mhm.
when I met my husband, I wouldn't go around my family. It was just him. I would go wherever he went, and he wasn't going around my family. I wasn't going around my family. They seen me whenever, months at a time. I was gone. So you get so emotionally attached to guys, and then you just decide that they are your God. You actually make them your God instead of our God, true God. You make
Mm.
these men your God. And so these men tell you what to do. They show you what to do. They beating your child. You scared, you mad, but you more scared of them than you of protecting your child. So it just happens. It happens that way, and that's not good.
Mm. Mm-mm. Wow, that's right. That's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you think, is it harder these days that we're in now, to be a real woman versus the time, say, when you were growing up?
Mm-hmm.
Is it harder now to be a real woman?
I don't think so. It's all in what you want out of life. Now, if you still ready to run the streets and do childish things, you haven't put childish things away, then yeah, it may be. But for me, um, I I feel that I'm a real woman. I love my husband. I love everybody, even my enemies. I try to keep my enemies closer to me so I can make sure, see what they doing. But I mean, that that's going to vary from person to person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm. And do you think that, even, what about for the black man? Do you think is harder to be a black man in these times, or it was harder to be a black man back in the daytime, to be a
I
black man?
think now, because there's so much peer pressure, it, men now want to, they want to be with the in crowd, and so it's more like they do what they can do to stand out and get attention, versus just coming up, going to work. Like back in the day, the men just came up, went to work, did what they had to do, provided for their families, and they still have free time as well. But
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, the men have the wrong motives. They come in for the person's money. They come in because the person got a car and they gonna drop her off at work, and they gonna keep her car and drive it while she at work and doing whatever they want, having another woman in their car, in the woman's car. It's just so many ulterior motives that guys have now. So it makes it harder.
Mm. Mm. Definitely, definitely. We're going to, look at one more clip
Okay.
and, get your opinion on that.
Okay.
While I'm pulling up, do you think it's easy to, in this time that we're living,
Mhm.
to secure your relationship, husband to wife, wife to husband? Do you think it's easy to secure the relationship?
Um, I'm I I'm doubtful, and only because women will tempt a man. Some women go straight after married men. She don't want the commitment and the things that come with marriage, but she wants your
Mhm.
man because he gonna leave. He not gonna spend the night. Well, some of them do spend the night, but they not gonna move in. So we had the women that just want your man because he's married, and he's just gonna give her money, pay her bills or whatever she needs from him, and go on about
Mm.
his business, and that makes it bad. for the married man and for the married woman.
Okay, we're gonna look at this clip and come back.
Okay.
Don't force the man to get into debt when you know debt is slavery, just so you could look good for a minute and suffer when you can't pay the bills. Who are you trying to please? Start small and grow large like everything else does. But if you want everything right away, you don't want to work for nothing. You don't want to sacrifice to build nothing. You will never have nothing, and you won't have a man, because a man can't be a man when he's saddled down up to his neck in debt with a dissatisfied woman who don't give a damn. She wants more and more and more. Let me tell you something, woman. We ought to take you and throttle you. I'm just telling you straight up. You don't want no man like me. You couldn't live with a man like me. Because I would not take that damn foolishness from one of you. For 1 minute, I'd drive you through the door. I don't like no woman to dominate no man. And I don't like no woman who even tries. Then you see another side of me. This is the way I was trained as a Muslim. You can see it coming out of me now, right? And I'm telling you, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad knew the black man and woman, and he knew how to train us better than any black man that ever lived. And unless we follow his guidance, we'll never be what we're supposed to be. You'll never be a happy woman dogging your man out. He's not a man yet, but he will be. But if you keep on dogging him, you won't have nothing, and you'll end up being a lesbian at home with yourself, with no man by your side, because your damn mouth is what it is. It's a snake pit.
Ooh, jeez.
And a man can't live under that, because he got enough hell on his head as it is trying to function in a white man's world. And he needs a wife that has compassion and understanding, and that's the value of the MGT. The MGT is supposed to make you a woman to help you make a man for God.
And that's one of the minister's fiery points right there.
Yes. Oh boy.
So what'd you think about that before I ask you individual questions?
I mean, that was so interesting. He told us off. And he has reason to feel the way he's saying. You know, he has reason.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And what do you think about the part where he talked about that a woman shouldn't try to dominate no man? What is, because we see it in social media, these the woman nigga,
right.
Make the man feel about like that big.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Is that something that a woman shouldn't even care about, or that's something she should not be doing?
She should not be doing that. You don't talk to, I tell people, I don't talk to my dog like some of these women talk to their kids or their man. So yeah, I think that women that do that kind of stuff or talk that way should learn to respect herself. That's a part she need to start with herself and respect herself, because if you respect yourself, you're not going to put a man down, especially in public, for everybody to hear. So everything seems to start with us, is building us up. And then you just had those that's just straight up ghetto, don't care, that's just them. And so at that point, then the man gonna have to put on his big man pants and put his foot down and make some rules in that relationship. Don't let no woman put you down like that. And like I said, especially in public.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, what way should he handle that? Because some men, a woman will say, whatever in public, and next thing you know, he be in her mouth like he the dentist.
Yeah.
And we don't want that to happen. So how should he effectively, deal with that in the best manner? I'll put it like that.
I think that they should communicate and that he should tell her how he truly feels. And if she can't accept it, kick rocks. Yeah, nobody wants nobody talking down to them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was in a relationship at one point, and the woman said to me, she said, "Well, I want you to make me do it." And I'm like, well, if I tell you to do A, B, C, and D, and you don't do A, B, and C, and D, and you want to go back and forth, if you don't willingly submit, the only next thing for me to do is knock you in your face. That's the only next thing for me to do. There's nothing else. And that perplexed me because I don't believe in beating on a woman.
Right.
But yet it was like it was something that she was slick slide demanding that has to happen. And, of course, we go our separate ways.
Right.
But there is a segment of women out there that believes that the man don't love them unless he beating her behind.
Yes. Yeah.
How do you one, counsel the woman that that's not love, and counsel the man that you should not be doing it?
Yeah. That's where they need to do something for themselves. That's where they need to build themselves, do something that they like doing. I would think no woman wants a man beating on them, but that's not true. That's how some people thrive. And so I feel, just my opinion, that they having some self-esteem issues that need to be addressed. And even if it's the man, it's some self-esteem issues that need to be addressed, because it's something back in the back of their mind that went wrong. I mean, because why would you want somebody to hit you, beat you?
Exactly.
Yeah, you walk around with a black eye or something. No, beautiful lady walking around with a black eye because some man, her man, then beat her up. No, they need counseling or something, because some people don't believe in counseling. But I'm telling you, if you get the right therapist, you got it going on. Yeah, and a lot of times, women, well, I'm just saying women, but I guess it could work for men too. They have things in their past, but things that they came up dealing with, things that that they saw mama and daddy do, things that they saw grandma and grandpa do. And it may have been that they saw them beat one another, or him beating her or vice versa. And so that's instilled in them. But they have to get to the point, by getting some help if they need help, or I would just try to, show them the way, tell them what I know about domestic violence, because that's all it is, domestic violence. And is not the way to go. Yeah, it's not the way to go. So the first thing again is the person will have to work on themselves. If we don't work on themselves, we're a wreck for somebody else. If we don't get ourselves together, we can't help nobody else. So we can't even resolve issues in our life if we all messed up and jacked up. So we got to get this mind together, our heart together. We got to forgive people. Don't just continue to hold on to grudges, because so many people holding on to grudges, and it's not a good thing. It just makes you sick, make you stroke out. To me, it takes more energy to hold on to a grudge than it does to say, "Hey, how you doing?" with a smile.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, we are at our time, and this has been an awesome interview. Conversations with Valerie is always a pleasure, definitely. What are your closing comments?
I just like to thank everybody for listening, and I want everybody to. We talked about the whole couple of hours about working on yourself. So I would say work on yourself. Is different things in relationships that you may or may not like. Please communicate that to your partner. Don't just get married or just move in and you know that you got issues and don't say anything about it. It's time, to say what's on your mind, but do it in a positive way. Don't cuss nobody out to get your point across.
And then on your intro, you have a thing that says, "You do have the courage to begin again." Can you just talk about that as well? Because a lot of people go through things in their lives that are devastating, and they get to a point where they just give up, and say, "Ain't nothing going to change. It is going to be what it is." And they don't have the courage to start over again. What would you say to them?
I would tell them that they would need to find a place where you can get some type of therapy, surround yourself with positive people, and most importantly, have a relationship with God. Talk to God. You can't keep this stuff held in, or call me. I'm open. My number is 202-906-9042. You always need somebody to talk to if you're going through any type of situation, such as these marriages nowadays that don't work.
Definitely. And you did say that earlier, that if you're married, you should be in some type of counseling, or something to that aspect. How do you know you have a good counselor?
When you can see, you go to this counselor and you can see improvement in your marriage and not division. Because sometimes you can go to a counselor and they can give you bad advice. And the way you'll know that it's bad advice, because it's not working for you. So if they listen to your story, they listen to what you had to say, they get paid the big bucks to lead you down the right path. So if it ain't working, then I would suggest just go on to somebody else until you find, because eventually you're going to find the right person.
Definitely. Awesome advice. And I tell you, our conversations with Valerie are very important, that we go over a lot of good information that our people may need, and to be able to break down, because one thing that we understand, family is the cornerstone of community, which is the cornerstone of nation. And if the family unit is no good, then the community is no good. If the community is no good, then the nation is no good. And so we can look at the destruction of the family unit, and we can see clear as day while we're living in the destruction, the divine destruction of America, because the family unit has gone by the waysides. And I thank everybody for listening in. I thank everybody for tuning in. And as we always say, you kill the nigga in you, I'm going to kill the nigga in me, and our God will reign supreme. We are Black first, today, tomorrow, and forever. We love you, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.